Hi everyone, Dennis Foley from Acoustic Fields. Today we're in Donovan's room for the second or third time. I can't remember.
It's about our third time, but second on video. Anyway,
yeah, third or second time on video. And today we want to focus on a three-step process that we've come up with for you guys that are working out of your bedrooms, probably, smaller rooms, renting space in a facility. And you know it's small, you know you have problems, and we've come up with this three-step approach. We kind of call it 80, 90, 95. It's got three numbers to it, and I have enough information. You all know I have a great database of, I think, 140 some rooms now that I've built and measured. And from that database, I came up with a way to try to make this process as painless as possible for everyone. And I came up with a way with my database. Once you give me the size and volume of your room, your usage, the pressure levels, diameter of your low frequency drivers, the count, how many you got, I can get enough treatment specified to get you to about 80% solution. And then we got another 15, let's just say 15% left, because we're never going to get to 100, let's be honest. Let's stay at 95. And then we got a 15% range that we can use for tuning, and you need to really help me here with that. So we've come up with this first step where you can get your 80%. A lot of people might be happy with that. That might be just enough for them.
So I was happy.
Yeah, well, you were, yeah. And then that may work for your budget. They may work for your room. That may work for the kind of music you're doing. You may not need, a 95% solution, which is real critical listening, hearing everything, good and bad. So, this is a full disclosure technology. It reveals everything, warts, smiles, everything, whatever is in the music you're going to hear. And as engineers, we want to hear everything, both good and bad, because we have to live with it. So the 80% right out of the gate, we can help you with. And then the other 15, we've did a tuning process with you. We started out with the 80%.
Yeah.
And then you lived with it for a while.
Yeah,
and give us some initial impressions the first time.
Well, it was a significant difference right off the bat, but I felt like my ears told me that we had a still a mid-range issue that was, that needed to be further addressed. I mean, it wasn't hardly bad at all, but I could tell that we had a mid-range bump.
Your shelf.
Pretty much.
I think it was 150 to about 400.
Yeah.
But the ends were smooth, and we had this
just a little hump there.
In the middle.
And so that's what my ears were telling me. And then you came in and shot the room and verified that what I was hearing was correct. And so we did another layer around the room of boxes. On every one of the stacks. There was 14 stacks in the room, and out of we did 11 more tops across the room, and that was amazing. That's when we shot the last video. I was over the moon at the results, but you being you were still walking around with your meter, and you found a couple of places that were bothering you. You found a dB here, a dB there, a dB up here. And you suggested that we throw in some 18-inch boxes to cure those issues and give it a try. So I said, yeah. And so those boxes came, and it was funny because I was really wondering whether I could hear the difference. I had a real open mind to it, and I thought, wow, am I really going to be able to hear, after all these boxes, am I going to hear these new little stacks of the 18-inch boxes? And so, but I hadn't put much thought into what I would hear. And that was the surprising part, because the minute I turned on the sound, I immediately heard a difference, but it wasn't what I expected. There was a low end deficiency. Now the low end changed, and I was like going, well, that's weird. I didn't expect that. But then I thought, okay, I got these T4 Manley speakers, and I had made the judgment that I had a 2 dB shelf cut that was necessary, because these are big drivers in a small room.
Yep.
And I had cut the room by 2 dB at a 125 and below shelf. And you had been saying you were hearing an extra dB in the corner here and a dB there, the same 2 dB. Well, anyway, I turn on the sound and I hear a low frequency change, and it was as obvious to me as, as it could be. And then I thought, wait a minute, what if I took that EQ off and just went flat? And so I took the EQ off, room done. I mean, it was like amazing.
Right.
And the funny part is that, you know, as an engineer, I've been spinning a dB on and off my entire life. You can't hear a dB. You know, the producer is sitting there going, oh, you know, let's raise it by a dB, you know, down a dB. You can't hear it, right? But in this room, you can. You can hear a dB. You can hear a half a dB. I mean, and it's obvious. So that's the thing that you're, I don't know if people understand about this process. It's like being blurred vision, right? And I can't see anything when I'm reading. Now, at my age, I have to put on reading glasses. And if I put on the reading glasses, like, oh, all of a sudden I can see everything. It's like, man, half the day I'm missing things that I don't see because I'm in a blur.
Right.
Well, it's the same with audio. And when you get this level of treatment and proper sorted acoustics in your room, all of a sudden sound becomes granular and highly focused. And that's the point of all of this. We were earlier, we put a track on. I was bragging to Dennis about, you know, how amazing the room is now, beyond my comprehension. And I thought back to when I was a younger person, you know, at 15, 16 years old, recording in high-end studios. And back in those days, you know, the studios were built properly. And this is before home recording came in and consumer equipment and whatever. Well, and since the mid-70s to now, things have dramatically changed in the gear business, but the acoustics have gone away. Everyone thinks they can record at their house, and I'm here to tell you that you can't mix at your house. There's no way you can do it. You have to neutralize your environment, like I've done here, in order to even have a chance. And in this particular room, this is a master bedroom in a common house. This is a world-class mixing environment right now, today. I mean, it's unbelievable. I turn on a track and I say to myself, this is exactly what a super high-end studio sounds like when you're in it. There's no way we can get an accurate application of our talent and discernment. You make decisions based on what you hear. And if the room is affecting what you hear and you're not coming from a position of zero, every one of your decisions is a guess, and it's wrong mostly. So we spend most of our time giving our best effort without calibration. And without the calibration, we really can't achieve what we're looking to do. So I now know that with this room, that what I hear is what's really there. So if I have any talent, I can apply that because I can hear the difference. It's absolutely truthful at every level, every frequency, every instrument, every frequency band, every little slot in your mix now is right where it's supposed to be. It's calibrated. So my decision is reality instead of a guess or just a false scenario.
Yeah. Who would have thought that you could hear 1 dB at 40 cycles?
I've never noticed it before in my 57 years of walking the planet.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever come to the realization that, oh my God, I can hear a dB clearly. And then I thought to myself, why? Why can I now hear a dB? It's because the room is high resolution.
Yeah.
By eliminating the clutter that the room creates, you know, through phase and all these frequencies folding over and bad math all over the place, you've clinically reduced. Basically, the room is invisible; it's gone. And I like to say that you're in space because there's no sound in space. There's no sound in my room. That's why the room sounds good, because there is no room. That's the thing. We've cloaked the room. The room is gone. All I hear is the speakers, and that's really what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely.
Is eliminate the bad room, because the room is killing you.
Yep.
And your decisions and what you think, it doesn't matter. You can't fix it with equipment.
No.
So now I have a whole new priority. I could lose my Pro Tools tomorrow. I've got the finest RedNet audio interfaces money can buy. I've got the best of the best. My monitors, my Westlakes, my Manleys. This is top shelf stuff. I'll give away all of it, but I'll never give away my carbon-filled acoustic devices from Acoustic Fields. I cannot. They are the foundation for now what gives me a chance. I can record in this room with a Porta Studio and make a better record than I can with all the rest of my gear. And it's just the bottom line. I mean, it really is the foundation of all recording studio reality, is that you have to have the studio. The gear doesn't matter without the studio.
Yeah.
Once you have the studio, now you can like add the greatest gear ever, and you have a chance. And if you have some talent, you can get to where you need to go or where you're looking to go. But I can tell you that I've been trying to get there in my own environment for most of my life and have never even been close.
Yep.
And through the different stages, as we added boxes, I started hearing the difference and getting closer and closer. And to be honest with you, I was a little shocked at the last phase. You kept saying to me, it's just like, we're working on the last 15%, and you know, it is such a remarkable experience that I'm 100% trusted in Dennis. So I know that he knows what he's talking about. And so I blindly let him lead me because I trust him completely. And he knows something that the rest of us don't know, and it's because he worked at this very hard. His discovery has, made a big change in our recording industry as something like Pro Tools. I would consider it to be one of the most important audio discoveries of all time. And he's invented something that just eliminates all issues. I mean, it sucks the problems right out of a room. And now, for the first time, I'm in an environment where I can apply my thoughts, my decisions, my discernment, my talent, and it matters. My decisions, my opinion matters for the first time in my life.
Yes.
And I think I can hear, we've tested it. I think I have an okay ear, you know. I could tell when we had a high frequency bump, and you proved it on the meter. I mean, I think that that's something that I'm good at. I have good ears. And so I can hear the difference. And now I'm flat in this room. We're absolutely flat. There's no need for any kind of EQ because the proper program material, the highest end recorded stuff on the best gear sounds perfect in this room. And then some favorite records of our past sound like crap because they were recorded. I can tell you just listening to a record where it was mixed now, if it was mixed in a real room or not, because the bad mixes will show themselves immediately. You know, mid-range deficiency, all of a sudden that they're overmixed snare like crazy. You know, but it sounded good to them at the time. They were convinced they were doing the right thing. But in a totally neutral, flat room, you can tell that it was it mixed improperly.
Yes.
So, but this is good news because this is what everybody needs. This is what, if you're watching this video, you desperately need help and you're not getting what you need and you have the same problem as I do and you're probably in a bedroom like I am and you're saying, how do I do this? You know, how can I get that last little bit that I'm not getting? And you can't do it with gear. I'll sell you gear all day long. Believe me, I got 12 lines of gear I'll sell you. And I'm happy to sell you quality gear. But none of my gear is valuable without a baseline environment to listen in.
Yes.
And this is my new religion, and it's my new truth, my new reality. And I'll tell you, you know, we laugh about it, but you know, when I start my day, I come in here, I listen to 2 or 3 tracks just before as I'm having coffee because that's what lights me up today. Is perfection in audio, perfect sound. You know,
balance.
The balance is just unbelievable, and it's such an organic experience. To experience the carbon and how it feels in a room, the pressure change, the temperature change. I mean, there's a whole vibe going on with this stuff that you can't, you know, even imagine was going to happen.
And we can't record it.
We can't record it.
No,
but the two of us know it. I mean, because we walk into the room and you can feel it immediately that there's a different pressure in a room.
Yeah.
And when you know, the sound of our voice just talking here. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's all we hear. Yeah. There's no weird reflection. There's no environmental distortion, distraction, clutter, blur. All that's gone. Yep. And so all you have is what you're hearing out of your speakers, and it's game on.
Yeah. It's separating the speaker from the room, and that's the hardest thing to do, because who would have thought that separating the speaker from the room means you make the room smaller?
Right.
With treatment.
Yeah. Well, you make it invisible.
Yeah. But you've got to physically make it smaller to make it sound bigger.
But you're not making it much smaller.
No.
Well, I give up a foot.
Yeah.
All the way around the room.
It's not
There's
bad.
1 foot. That's it. And I don't even care what shape your room is, because we've proved mine is a little wider than it is deep, and we've got 5 stacks going across the back of the wall, and 3 stacks across the sides with a little sub stack of the 18s. The dimensions of this room allow for 6 feet worth of boxes on the side, plus an additional stack of 18-inch boxes. And we've got 5 stacks across the front. So basically, how to figure out to do your room is pretty simple. And I'm a layman now, and I can tell you, you measure as many 2-foot increments as your room has available where you can put a stack of boxes. Can you fit 3 or can you fit 4 on a given wall? You figure out what walls you have, how many stacks will fit, and that's how many you need.
Yeah.
It's about that simple. You're basically cloaking the room with the carbon technology, and you do that by putting as much of it in a room as will fit.
Pretty much for small rooms.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And then that turns a typical home, bedroom, or small office space into a world-class mixing environment. It's guaranteed to work. I mean, it absolutely, there's nothing it doesn't plug in. It's passive in every possible way. And I was joking in the last video, the only tool you need is a hand truck. You wheel it in, you stack it up, done. It works right now. You hear it immediately.
Yeah.
It's instant perfection in your room, and it couldn't be simpler.
No.
There's no construction, there's no tools, there's no fooling around, and there's no guessing. And what we learned by building it incrementally is that you can hear it all the way along the way. So I recommend that idea. If you can't afford to do a full set in your room, buy as much as you possibly can fit and plan on buying the rest later. And as you add the boxes, you will hear the difference. And when you get to the level that we've gotten in this room, where we've literally knocked down the entire set of walls in this space, to where the room is virtually invisible to the audio spectrum.
Yes.
And, it's worth it. I would sell all my other gear to get to this point and sit here with a Porta Studio creating music, rather than to give away my acoustic treatment and have the finest audio gear money can buy, because the gear does me no good without the treatment.
Yeah.
The treatment is job one. I mean, it's the top priority, and most people have not really even understood that that's the real truth at hand.
Well, I think their experience with acoustical treatment technologies that are in the marketplace today, and I've tested all of them, but only about 15% work as advertised.
Right.
And even that small percentage
is not even
the
sufficient.
performance is not that good either.
Right.
See, so I got rid of all of that and I went a completely different route. And I said, let's really get serious and go after this problem. And that's why we use diaphragmatic absorption, the most powerful technology you can use. And then the goal becomes how much, where to put it, what rate and level of absorption do we need in that area of the room. And over time, we figured out all of that. And that's why we have the 2 units, the 10, which is the broadband unit, and then the 12, which is the frequency specific. So it's the balance between 30 to 50 cycle absorption and 30 to 400 cycle absorption. So it's a nice balance. It's a nice blend. And then the foam, the curves on the foam complement the absorption curves with the carbon. So the foam and the carbon together,
it's unbelievable.
It's a balance.
It is.
And you get the low end management, you get the middle end and high end management, all the way up to 6,500. So it's a great balance of technologies working together. And doing our step 3 approach, back to that, 70% right out of the gate we can get you with our database, and the other 15% we can work together with you to tune it. So we're going to have 3 steps for you to try, and then you'll know. Here's the thing, and this is what you experience. We did step 1, big improvement.
Yeah.
Took a while then, and I let you go 2 or 3 weeks before we did step 2, because I wanted you to really spend the time listening to everything. So you really got a handle on level 1.
Right.
And then level 1 showed us we still had a problem, and it always will. That's the beauty of level one. It will show you what's missing, which you can't hear now without level one first.
It's true.
Because
Yes.
everything's a mess now before you even have any units in the room.
Yeah.
So you bring level one in. Okay, now we define our problem a little. It's like an hourglass that's shaped like this.
Right.
You just keep funneling and funneling down till you get to flat, which is the little part for one granule of sand to go through, so to speak. So then phase two, we saw the shelf. We fixed that. And then phase three, always that 63 cycle problem because of ceiling height. So we went after that with the smaller 18 by 18 units, and we got that.
2 dB worth of perception.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can hear that.
I mean, you can hear it.
And don't you want that kind of resolution
Of course
in
you
your
do.
room?
You got to have it.
Because your equipment sure has it.
Absolutely.
It's 24-bit.
Right, and you're sitting in an 8-bit chair right now. And
Yeah.
that's your problem.
Yeah.
You have to have a high resolution room, or your gear doesn't matter what resolution
No.
it is.
And on the flip side of that, if you have good gear and a high resolution room, the two together, the marriage, is heaven.
It is.
Because the manufacturers of technologies today, I think they've pushed things as far as they can go. I mean, the resolution is off the scale.
It is fantastic.
And unfortunately, half of us or 3/4 of us can't even hear what the engineer put in the mix.
No.
Because the way we play it back, the rooms we play it back in, MP3,
Yeah.
play it back using that, and then
Right.
let's take MP3 formats and play them back in our bathrooms
Yeah, right.
over our iPhone speakers.
Horrible. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much where
I
the
know.
industry was at.
I understand.
Now, we're kind of
climbing
going
back,
We're
clawing
going
our way
back in old school thinking with good studio sound. I mean, I do a lot of work in LA, and in the 60s and 70s, a lot of studios were built in LA.
Yeah.
That's when, remember, people
Yeah,
our
it
age,
was
when
booming,
music was rocking and
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
new bands every week.
I was
Led
there.
Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Ted Nugent, everybody's coming on scene back then. So they really put emphasis on the studios, and we don't have that today. And we need it now more than ever.
There's one point I wanted to just go back to, that you were talking specifications and the frequencies that are covered with the different boxes. And the interesting thing is that as a consumer of this product, you don't need to know any of that, because Dennis has already figured it out. What he was explaining there is he's cracked the DNA. He's cracked the code of how to solve the problem, and he's delivering it in a metered modular fashion that just more boxes equals to more fix. That's it.
Yeah.
The fix is set. He's already figured out the whole frequency scale for you. There's nothing that you have to do different in your room. Every room has the same kind of problem.
Yep.
It's just some are worse than others, but the boxes solve the same problem in every room the same way. So it's metered and it's modular. So you can literally measure and count on a certain level of change every time you add a stack of boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally is that simple. You don't have to figure out how to get all the frequencies covered. Dennis has figured that out. By design, this is the beauty of the product. It's been engineered to be perfect as you add modular sections. And the more sections you have, and when you've reached the right amount of sections in the available space in your room, you can get as close to perfection as there is. Now, I have a lot of good surface room in my room. It's not totally surface room, but it's more than some. So I got a lot of boxes in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's 14 stacks in here, basically counting with the back wall with the diffusion on there. And the 14, 15, 16, counting the 18.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of material. And but I'm telling you, that's what it took to get to perfection. And ask yourself, if you could have perfection in your environment, if I said, look, it's as simple as you getting out the hand truck and loading these in. You just won the lottery. Money wasn't your problem. So these things it's expensive to buy a lot of anything. So we all agree on that this is an investment. But if I said to you that I could solve your problems for the rest of your life in an audio recording studio environment where you have perfect sound, and all you have to do is get out the hand truck and move these boxes in, and you're guaranteed to change your life forever and have perfect sound for the rest of your life. I mean, would that be a yes answer? Show of hands here.
Yeah.
I think everyone would say yes to that question. It's like, you can solve my problem without making a mess in my house. Yep. My wife isn't mad. There's no construction, no permits, no problems. All you do is wheel in the stacks and you're done. Yep. And it works perfectly, just right out of the crate.
Yep.
And that's what Dennis has figured out. He's figured out how to deliver that in a modular fashion, and it guaranteed to work.
Yeah.
So, and I built it piece by piece, and I've seen it in the 3 stages. And we had to do it that way because I couldn't. It's not like all of a sudden I went, wow, acoustics, I got this huge budget, I'm ready to go. It was the exact opposite. It was like I didn't have.
Never hear that.
Yeah, I didn't have it together at all, and I went, oh my God, I got to have this. I could tell immediately that I needed to get involved with this, and the minute the first load of boxes came into my room, I knew there was no turning back, and that I had to go as far as it took to get it right, because this was something I could never solve before. I had no, and I didn't realize how big of an issue it even was. And at the second level, I was over the moon at where we were at. Mm-hmm. And by the time we hit the third level, I mean, it's like, I wake up happy every morning. I mean, it's like I'm on drugs or something. It's like, it's like I married Cheryl Teagues and won the lottery or something else. Every day is a joyful day, right, with carbon under my roof.
Yeah.
It's the amazing thing. And to love music and engineering and production like I do, and to know now that everything I twist a knob to is the truth and real. I don't have to go to another guy's room to mix. I don't have to go anywhere to master. I command all that power under my own room in my little bedroom here. I've been here 28 years in this room, and all of a sudden now this house is gold, absolute platinum.
Yep. Because it's a great joy to hunger for so many years and finally get fed.
It is, man. Yeah. It is the greatest. Yeah, and I would never give this stuff up under any circumstances. Seriously, I'll let every piece of gear go before I let my acoustics go, because I could rebuild with any gear anytime. Yeah. But this kind of sound in a room, I had no idea was so fundamentally important and so missing in my world or my perspective. And I just know that everyone would have the exact same feelings that I have. Yes. I mean, you cannot hide from what this does for you. No. I mean, it's such a substantial and dramatic effect on your whole life. I mean, it's more than just the music too. It is. It is a calming. It's like the one thing that you never got right in your life. And you keep getting older and you still don't have it right, and you're longing for something and you can never find it. And now I got it. Yeah. And it's under my own roof. I couldn't be happier. Yeah. I'm Dennis knows. I'm texting him all hours of the day and night, just blown away by mixes because it's so remarkably better than anything I've ever experienced in my own world. And for the first time, I now have the power to do what I want to do, and I just can't wait to do it. I mean, my gear, I have in the other room, I got stacks of gear. It's going to be a 128 channel mix system in here, built with the finest gear that money can buy. And we're just listening to a CD right now with a nice amplifier and good speakers. And it's remarkable, what music sounds like in this room. And the task of putting together the rest of the gear that I'm building for this room now is going to be so much fun. Yeah. And producing product here is going to be such a joy. Yes. That my future is so bright that it's incalculable. Yes. By comparison.
Yes, absolutely.
So.
Well, it's nice to hear Donovan tell you what I've been trying to say for the last 10 years for people. And, obviously it's different coming from someone who's using it and has it in their room and stuff. So that's why we always like customers to, use it and tell people about it. So here's a classic example of someone that been in the industry forever knows the industry inside out, knows music, can even sing really well. So, this is great. So I like all you guys out there as my customers, but it's these guys for me that make it, because these are my peers. These are the guys I really designed the product for, the engineers who make our music, because it's our music that I love. Could never hear right, but I really set out to get it at the mixing and the engineering level, and try to get as much of the room out of the way so you could hear more of the music. Listen to the music without hearing the room is a good spot to end. So thank you, everybody. This is our 3-step approach. Hit us up on the internet. Send us emails. We got that room form on the internet. Put that as a priority. Fill it out. We'll get you to the 70% to start. Get you a price quote so you know what you're doing, and we'll go from there. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Take care.